Council of Monday, December 18th, 2023 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Mark, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of December 4th, 2023. We have a designation of the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter as the official newspaper for legal publications in the Mason City Globe Gazette as a secondary newspaper for publications. We need to reschedule January 1st, 2024 City Council meeting to January 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. We need approval of City Administrator's appointment of Matthew Stedding as City Engineer with a start date of February 1st, 2024 at an annual beginning salary of $120,000. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you have a copy, and we do not have any license and permits this evening. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana. We approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. Not a discussion time nor question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. Welcome, Casey.
Very good, Mayor. Thank you. Mayor, council, city administrator, staff. This was something I had hoped to do earlier today at our weekly Board of Supervisor meeting, but said person that I wanted to acknowledge had a dentist appointment that could not be rescheduled. So here I am. Basically want to acknowledge my dad's contribution to the community, and had thought about getting in the weeds on a lot of the contributions, but earlier today, one of his colleagues had sent an email that I think the mayor and administrator and myself and my father received, and quite frankly, he sums it up in a very good manner in that he said, "We live in a better place thanks to you." So anyways, I'll leave it at that. Earlier today, the Board of Supervisors made a proclamation in recognition of your accomplishments. So I would like to read that. So I should have the mayor do it because these proclamations become tongue twisters for myself, and I usually butcher them because there's one too many whereases. But nevertheless, here I am. Proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of Saragota County. Whereas Saragota County wishes to express its appreciation to the City of Clear Lake's outgoing Mayor Pro Temp for his past contributions and cooperation in better serving the needs of the residents of Clear Lake and Saragota County. And whereas Mike Callanan served as an at-large member of the Clear Lake City Council from January 1st, 2008 to December 31st, 2023, and was appointed Mayor Pro Tem by Mayor Nelson P. Crabb on January 2010. Whereas it's important to recognize and acknowledge the long tenures and by virtue that of civic leadership, mentoring, and stewardship to those elected officials that have provided Saragota County cities. And whereas local government service through elected office profoundly impacts the daily lives of residents of Saragota County by reshaping and influencing a positive direction in public policy. And whereas Mike has had many accomplishments during his tenure, he was particularly helpful regarding Saragota County in helping facilitate the Everyone Plays Playground location, as well as the bicycle trail connecting South Shore to Sisters Prairie Trail. Whereas Mike served as a liaison and ambassador from the council to many organizations and civic groups, including the Clear Lake Noon Lions and Clear Lake School District. Likewise, Mike served as a mentor on the council to many former students he had from his nearly 3 decades as a coach and teacher. So now, therefore, on behalf of Saragota County Board of Supervisors, I, Casey M. Callanan, do hereby present this proclamation as an expression of appreciation and recognition of Michael E. Callinan's service to the residents of Saragota County and Clear Lake, Iowa. With that, permission to approach.
Yes, sir. Well done, well done. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak to the council? Moving along to unfinished business. A, rezoning request from Brandon and Dennis Rubish of Lakeside Acres to rezone a parcel of property by expanding an existing RS-12 high-density, single-family residential district, changing a portion of an existing CC2 community commercial district to RFBH, factory-built housing residential, and an additional portion of CC2 to CI1, intensive commercial, and establishing an OPD-H zone, planned development housing overlay district. Entertain a motion with regard to ordinance number 878 on the second of three readings.
Yes, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to table the rezoning proposal for Lakeside Acres LLC. Several of us had a good meeting with the property owners the other day, and I appreciate their willingness to defer this matter for a time so that we can study it further. I just think it's premature to rezone it at this time because I think there are some concerns about the feasibility of the project given its current size, location, and mix of housing types. Thank you, Mayor.
Is that, you put that in the form of a motion?
That's a motion
Is there a
to
second
table.
to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to table ordinance number 878 on the second of three readings. Is there any discussion?
Yeah. I mean, this seems to come out of somewhere, but I'm not too sure where. And I guess from my standpoint, we passed it a week or 2 weeks ago. What's changed since then?
I would like to add to that, and Mike's totally correct. We passed it 2 weeks ago. I think we should pass it on the second reading and allow more time. Do not delay this. If it needs to be tabled on the third reading, then table it.
Yeah, and I just, I mean, apparently no one can give me any good reason, at least right now, why we need to table it. And yeah, so I'm personally opposed to it without any rhetoric at all as to why this should happen.
I did happen to be there during that time, as did a couple of council people here, when the gentlemen, both gentlemen, were here to discuss this to a point of where I do believe that in their mind that there could be possibly some more changes that they could make that perhaps would make this fit with regard to having to rezone it from the type of zoning that it is at the present time.
Okay, well, maybe my next question then is, what is the current zoning? Is it ag?
It must be, I assume.
Is it interim
What is it?
development, or is it, Mike?
No, right now it is, with RS-12, it's an ag use, we have no agricultural zoning in the city at all.
Okay.
So it's residential and it's partially RS, now the map in front of me right now. The current zoning is RS-12 right now, and then CC2 on the south side of that. So they're just changing part of the CC2 zoning, and then
What we are changing it to?
to RS-12,
It's that which we just read here, Mike. This is the reason.
Okay.
The current zoning we have in there is RS12.
Yep.
And then CC2 that's on there extends on the south end of this.
Yep.
And we're changing it to the manufactured, the RFBH, I think it is,
Those next two
with
lines
that
there.
one. So we're making 2 zones into 3 that we have in there. We're extending one of them further down. There is part south of 15th Avenue South right now that currently is part of that field on the north end.
Yep.
Already is part of that. We're extending it further down.
Okay, so then my next question, I guess, would be, if we did go ahead and change this, would that be reversible if something happened in the future?
I mean, as far as they change their design,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it'd go, if they want to put something back before planning and zoning, sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's until it's finally passed by you guys.
well, yeah. I mean, is this gonna put the brakes on their project?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Brandon or his dad, so I
Okay.
don't know
All right,
that at all too, so.
well, I guess I have more questions than answers, but yeah, getting some information anyway, thank you.
I feel that if we go ahead and pass the second reading, and if you so choose the third reading, that allows the developer 3 to 4 weeks to really decide what he wants to do. And that makes more sense to me than anything.
Would, the third reading would not have to be on the agenda for that January 2nd meeting, would it?
Yes, it would.
Okay, all right, so I guess if it got passed tonight, it could be tabled then.
Yep.
All right, all right.
Okey-doke.
Any further comments? Any council people? None appearing? That was our discussion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mark?
No.
Mike?
I guess yes.
Gary?
No.
Wait a minute, excuse me, Mayor, this is a motion to table, right? So we need an affirmative
This-
vote. I just
well,
want to make
that's-
sure everybody understands
Yeah.
that. You had seconded
That's
the
why you were
motion, so.
confusing me, because you just,
So
I was trying to vote the opposite him.
Okay,
so
motion to table, yes, motion to table.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for
Yes.
everybody. Thank you.
So we have,
Better start over.
Yeah, let's start. So a motion to table.
Yes.
All right, I
no, we
guess
need a second. If you,
He's already seconded it.
Mark
Yeah.
seconded it.
are we doing this right, council?
I think so.
Okay,
Seconded it.
Mark seconds it. All right.
And he
Roll
just-
call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike? No. Gary?
No.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2, and ordinance number 878 is tabled. Moving along. 6, new business. A, City Hall security, ADA, upgrades, and official remodel project. Project update, review of case number 1. Scott Flory, City Administrator. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just mentioned, I think, drug that out so Mike's record of the shortest council meeting could live on forever, 21 minutes, 22 minutes.
20.
20, okay.
You
So
can
you're,
move-
I don't think we can get through. I think you're saying.
No. I was there. I ran the meeting. 20 minutes. I have a good memory for numbers. And we're not going to vote on that.
So these are the pink sheets in your packet. Again, this is, as Mayor indicated, City Hall security upgrade remodeling project. So recall, of course, we entered into a contract with Hinkle Construction for this project. The original contract amount is $828,100 for the City Hall remodeling project. So the pay estimate is number 1 in your packet. So the work completed and stored materials to date equate to $40,873.75. So like all the projects, there's a 5% retainage on this project. So a little over $2,000 is withheld for that. So that results in a net amount due for this pay application of $38,873.75. $830, and leaving a balance to finish of just a little under $790,000. So the work done to date mostly consists of demolition work. This is also for fixed costs for things like bonds, insurance, and those kinds of things. Some stored materials, but largely just demolition activities. Just in terms of an update on the asbestos, if you recall, the contractor did find some additional asbestos in the project here, so the contractor's been started today, removing it and talking to them. They think they might be done by the end of the week, which would be good for us to be able to get the general contractor back in here and not so much off schedule on it. So that's about all I have for that one.
Questions for Scott, council? None appearing. Thank you, Scott. Entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 with regard to City Hall security ADA upgrade and office remodel project to Henkel Construction, the amount of $38,830.06. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve pay estimate number 1. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. 6B, South 15th Street, Everybody Plays Park and Playground Project, review, pay estimate number 1. Again, Mr. Flory.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. This is to Dean Snyder Construction. We're getting pretty much is really the penultimate pay application for this project. So the total amount due on this pay application is $168,606.20. So that leaves with the retainage a balance due of $131,794.26. Of that amount, $100,598.56 is the retainage. So this pretty much gets us down to where we don't have a lot left to pay out except the retainage. So if you flip through the green sheets there, I think it's the third of the fourth page there, it identifies the work completed for this pay application. And you can see the fencing, landscaping, and then mechanical work that was associated with the splash pad, doors, those kinds of things were largely the totals for this particular pay application. And then if you kind of trace over to the right there just a little bit, you see balance to finish, about $31,195.70 for those additional items. That's really all that's left, minus the retainage to pay out to the contractor on this. So that's all I've got on that. Just again, the pay estimate itself is current amount due $168,606.20.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, entertain a motion with regard to pay estimate number 11 in the South 15th Street Everybody Plays Park and Playground Project. Motion, please, and that's in the amount of $168,606.20. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Gary, that we approve pay estimate number 11. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. 6C, Urban Revitalization Plan, Emerald Edge Subdivision Review Proposal. Mr. Flory again.
Thank you, Mayor. These are the orange sheets in your packet, Council. I actually heard Bob Fisher's radio program this morning give an update on this, so I hope I can do as good a job reviewing it as he did on the radio explaining it. He did a really nice job there. So, again, these are the orange sheets in your packet. The two drivers, of course, of this project are the Emerald Edge Place Townhome Project, the 32-unit twin townhome project that will be constructed on the west end of Emerald Edge subdivision, and then also the Emerald Edge apartment project that has been proposed by the developer Hamilton Realty out of Rochester, Minnesota, 90-plus units there on the east side of the subdivision, located just directly north of where the eventual Hy-Vee store would be constructed there on that particular lot. So if you recall previously, the council had approved a professional services agreement with Planscape here in Clear Lake to help us prepare this rather detailed, lengthy administrative process to implement this urban revitalization plan. Planscape's done, I think, 4 or 5 of these plans for us throughout different areas of our community, so this is another one. The initial step in this process does require the council to approve a resolution of necessity that's included in your packet. That establishes the date, the time, the place for a public hearing on this particular proposal. And I'll go over the schedule with you here just in a moment. But again, as we've done a number of these, you're probably familiar with the enabling legislation for this is provided by Chapter 404 of the Code of Iowa that grants the cities the ability to implement these urban revitalization plans that ultimately provide full or partial property tax abatement for qualifying projects. In those projects, of course, the developer, the applicant, makes application to the city. Then those applications by the clerk are forwarded on to the council for your review, and then following the council's review of those applications, then they're forwarded on to the county assessor to determine ultimately whether or not they qualify for the abatement or not. So. Following the publication of the legal notice, which the clerk has ready to go for January 18th on 2024, the actual implementation and creation of the district, we cannot act on these things any sooner than 30 days following the hearing. So to review the schedule with you, here this evening, December 18th, would be the consideration of the resolution of necessity and establishing February 5th as the date for the public hearing on this one. January 5th, 2024, city clerk will mail notices to Saragordo County Board of Supervisors. The property owners that are identified in those orange sheets in your packet, essentially it's Suka Bag for the majority of the subdivision with the exception of Hy-Vee Corporation. And then also we mail a copy to the Clear Lake School Superintendent. January 18th, 2024 is the date that the notice will be published in the Mirror Reporter. Then on February 5th, 2024, council will conduct the required public hearing, consider approval of a resolution adopting the urban revitalization plan, and then subsequent to that, you'll have your first reading of the ordinance that designates the district. And since that is an ordinance, of course, it requires 3 readings, so the second reading of the ordinance will take place on February 19th, and the final reading would be scheduled for March 4th. March 7th, we would publish the ordinance in the newspaper and then file a copy with the county. So I don't have anything further on that one unless anyone has any questions.
Council, any questions for Scott? Public hearing is February 5th, correct?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Scott. No questions heard. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2360, a resolution of necessity and setting a public hearing with regard to urban revitalization plan of the Emerald Edge subdivision on February 5th, 2024. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2360. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2360 is duly adopted. 6, demolition and interim site work at 2010 North 4th Street, former Woodford Wheeler Lumber Company. Once again, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, purple sheets in your packet address this item. The first purple sheet is a resolution making award a contract for the 210 North 4th Street demolition project. Awarded contract would be to Charleston Excavating of Clear Lake in the amount of $168,144 as the lowest responsible bidder. The next sheet, and Jason will review the bid tab with you here in more detail, as a tabulation just indicating that we received 4 sealed quotes for this particular project. And again, the lowest was submitted by Charleston Excavating, and there was quite a range on those bids. So just in the way of further background, we've covered this a number of times, but do it one more time. At your regular meeting on October 2nd, the council had approved a professional services agreement with Veenstra and Kim to prepare the necessary plans and technical documents necessary to solicit quotes for this particular project. Again, the 210 North 4th Street, former Woodford Wheeler Lumberyard demolition project. Basically, the project consists of the demolition of the existing 21,500 square foot building, removal and disposal of the debris, removal of the existing building foundations and footings, backfilling and compacting the site. There's also, if you recall, some interim site drainage work that we'll be doing to drain stormwater off of the property. And then also we'll be applying some aggregate there on the top to allow us to utilize that for short-term off-street parking purposes. So in particular, we've talked about the Color the Wind event that takes place on Saturday, February 17th. So we wanted the completion date ahead of that so the property could be utilized for that. So back at your meeting on December 4th, the council had authorized this competitive quotation process. Again, this is because the project, the estimated cost of it was less than what the statutory bid threshold is, so we're able to utilize this much more streamlined process as an alternative to the traditional competitive sealed bid process. So the date for receiving these competitive quotes was December 14th at 2 p.m. And again, tonight is the consideration of those bids and award of contract. So, just in the way of review, the engineer's estimate on the project was $160,864. So Charleston's bid, as the lowest responsible bidder, was just a little bit above what the estimate was, which was $168,144. So it's about 4.5% above what the estimate on the project was. But as Jason will review with you here momentarily, you notice the three quote proposals we received from the other companies were all significantly higher than that. So it does demonstrate to us that we are getting what the market conditions are currently for this kind of work. So we do recommend award of the contract to Charleston. We've done quite a bit of work with that company over the years and have had a very good working relationship with them. So I don't have anything further before Jason makes his recommendation and reviews the bid tab.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review of competitive quotes. Jason Petersburg, engineer, Veenstra and Kim. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We had sent the solicitation for quotations out to 6 contractors. All 6 contractors did take plans on it. Received 4 bids or four quotes on this. So there was good interest on it. Like Scott mentioned, it was over our estimate. Pretty much one item in the bid tabulation explains that it's the demolition of the building itself. And I've talked to the bidders afterwards, and it's the amount of lumber in the building that they have to dispose of is what has raised the bid for that item there. A lot of lumber to get rid of. I've talked to Charleston schedule-wise. They've already called in locates, want to get the water and sewer disconnects done ASAP. They've submitted the notice of demolition to the DNR, so there's a 10-day waiting period on that. So looking at starting probably right after the first of the year. Recommend awarding the contract to Charleston Excavating. Any questions?
Questions for Jason, Council? Thank you. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2331, a resolution making an award of contract with regard to demo and interim site work at 2010 North 4th Street, Woodford Wheeler Lumber, to Charleston Excavating, the amount of $168,144. Motion.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Gary, that we approve Resolution 2361. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Resolution 2361 is duly adopted. Chief, report. Welcome, Chief Colby.
Mayor and Council. First, I just want to thank the two council members who's last night with us, sitting on that side of the podium. Appreciate your service, and thanks for all the help and feedback you've given me over the years I've been here. So I just wanted to say thank you. I think you all have your a copy of our monthly report from November in your packets today. There's a lot of information there, but I really just wanted to highlight the bottom center of page 2, which is our mission statement that we have since implemented at the station. And the reason for the importance of that area is there's a lot of things in police work that can't be defined through policy and procedures, and we deal with situations that are unique on a daily basis. And so we spent a lot of time, and I sought some input from some of the members on the other side of me, or in front of me here, on our mission statement there. And this is probably our 12th or 13th version, but I just wanted to highlight a few things in there that we have in our mission statement and tell you why it's important. The biggest things that we want to partner with our community, and we want to make sure that we are working with compassion, dedication to excellence, integrity, and impartiality in our decisions there. And what I was talking about, that we can't always define everything that we put in our policies and procedures there, is this mission statement is important for our officers, that they can, our dispatchers rely on that mission statement there. So if they have to make decisions that is in line with our mission statement, that we can validate those decisions when we can't always define what we're going to come up against there. But I think that's an important thing for us to have codified for everybody, and we pushed that out at our department meeting earlier last month for everybody. And yeah, I just think it's an important thing for us to have to guide how we work day to day when we have to make some split-second decisions there. Went through that really fast, but do you guys have any questions on those pages in the monthly report from November that I can clarify for you or anything? I know we had a busy month, as it kind of lays out there. Did a lot of training last month with the fire department and DPS, State Patrol, their Intel Bureau, and then we also had somebody from DPS's auditor office come and give us some training for about 2 hours on criminal histories and stuff there too. So it was a heavy training month for us.
Hey, I have said this before, but I think that's a great communication tool from the police department to us and others, whomever that does go out to, but it's well done, well put together. The information on the most recent graduation of our newest officer, and the fact that you, Chief, I see that you're teaching classes down there as well. So.
Yeah, I started down at the academy for 2 days, yeah. And Brendan did graduate on Friday, and he'll be hitting the street tomorrow afternoon for his first day on the street going through training. So he'll look at, in all likelihood, probably 16 weeks of field training to go through with officers. We have 4 different certified field training officers that he'll spend time with for the next 16 weeks. And that he may progress to that a little quicker or maybe a little longer, depending on how he progresses through and what he grasps and everything. We don't want to set a certain time frame on it and get to the end of it and not have everything covered, or maybe somebody progresses through it a little bit quicker too. So it's more of a learn as you go type thing.
Any further comments, Council or Chief?
Mayor, I would just echo your comments, frankly. I appreciate the report and the stories you contain in there, Chief. A lot of great things Clear Lake PD is doing in the community. And so I appreciate hearing about those stories and the format that you've put it in. So thank you very much.
We're up to a full 16 now.
15. We're at 15 right now. We're still have the open captain spot, and those we're taking
yeah,
applications through the end of the week. Before we evaluate those, that'll probably be after the first of the year with the holiday coming up and then New Year's. But we'll look at all those and process those probably starting on January 2nd, somewhere around there.
Dispatch, we're good.
We have a offer out. We have somebody that's moving back from Texas that's accepted the offer. She'll start, I want to say it's the 8th of November, or 8th of January. So she hasn't started yet, but that spot is filled. She just got to get back in the state and get moved in and before she starts.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Public Works Director Jeremy Kornberg. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a few things. I think last time we talked about the alley approaches that were getting done on 8th Avenue South. With the nice warm weather last week, he got back at it and finished the last two. So I believe he was going to clean the cones up this week, so they'd be back open up. I think he left them closed over the weekend just so they would cure out a little bit better.
Yeah, I drove by there today, Jeremy. They look fantastic. So all the cones are gone. So
Perfect. So that's completed, and then the subdivision out there, South Shore Estates, they began their sanitary sewer work today. So they completed the tie-in to the existing main on the east side of South Lakeview, and then got several sticks of pipe laid to the east. So they're going to be working pretty hard this week to get as much of that put in here this week. I think we talked and informed to make sure that, hours 7 to 7 like we always, so I know they had brought in some lights because they did plan on working a little bit late, but we told them to make sure you're done our normal hours. So, and then just department stuff. The past few weeks we've had some guys go into some different classes, obviously our CEUs for mosquito class, and then we also every year try to send about half of our guys to a winter maintenance class. Just goes over techniques, product application for sand, salt, brine, different things like that. So just you end up at these meetings with a bunch of county people, other municipalities. It's kind of nice to hear some of their processes and procedures and see how they mesh together. So kind of what I got out of it was I don't think anything we do is out of line with anybody that, any other departments. But I think the processes that we have to get our roads clean, everything is pretty streamlined. And talking to some of these other communities, I think we do a very good job when you hear about the time that they take to get theirs done, beginning to end, and then what I know what our guys can do and get a snow done. So it's just kind of a good to know our guys kind of have some good processes and know what they're doing. So other than that, just that time of year, we're just doing some in-house work in the shop and going through equipment. So, any questions for me?
Is there a rule of thumb on when we go out to maintain the roads and snow, or?
We don't have like an ordinance or a policy that says an exact amount of snow. A lot of it is event-based. And what we look at for temperatures that are coming up later, when the event's going to end, just a lot of things that come into play. If we see an event coming and the conditions are right, we'll go out and brine. Last year we didn't brine a lot because all the events we got had rain pretty much right before the event, so the brine would do no good. If we get a couple inches of snow, but it's going to continue to snow for the next couple hours, and say that snow is like started at 7, we'll let the event just finish so we can go out at 1 a.m. and get everything cleaned up. There's no, less traffic, less cars, less obstacles to deal with. If it starts at 8 in the morning, then we play Frogger and we drive around and try to do the best we can in those situations. But it changes from event to event, really. So.
And I know you guys and Chief are real
tight
on that.
I'm like, if it's after hours, I talk to him a lot. We text back and forth. Let the officers on the roads make some calls if they're getting seeing traction issues or a couple call in for accidents. We'll try to get the sanders out and salt. Primaries, a lot of times we'll let residentials sit until we can get there the next day, if it's a very small event type thing. So, but typically focus on the main roads, the main thoroughfares, make sure people can get from point A to point B. Residentials kind of assume they're lower traffic, lower speeds. It's going to be a little less priority. So, and like I said, those winter maintenance meetings, we go to those. There's a lot of communities that they won't plow the residentials until the snow event's done, and they get everything else cleaned, and then they'll go into residentials. So, some of those it'll be 24 hours of an event before a snowplow even goes by. So, for us, typically, if a snow event is done, we can get the whole town cleaned in 3 to 4 hours. So.
Thanks, appreciate that information.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, thanks.
Under Mayor's report, Stacy, welcome.
Council, I'd like to echo everyone else's thanks, Gary and Mike, for your service to the community. There's been a lot of transformational projects that have happened under your tenures, and it makes my job easier. It makes Clear Lake an easy place to promote, so thank you for your service to the community. Looking back a couple of weeks, we had our Christmas by the Lake event. We were fortunate to have very mild weather, which positively impacted attendance. We had about 12,000 people downtown, which is around 2,000 more than showed up last year. So very happy with that. We are hoping for some cold weather because I'm not sure if you noticed, but the lake is wide open right now, which is not conducive to Color the Wind. But before we get to Color the Wind, we are having our annual meeting on January 26th. That is a Friday night. We're starting at 4 o'clock. You're invited to attend. We will be honoring our Business of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Larry Luker Volunteer of the Year, and we'll be awarding the Spirit of North Iowa Award. So would invite you to attend, would invite you to nominate worthy businesses, individuals, or organizations for any of those. We're accepting nominations through Friday. So unless you have any questions, that's all I have.
Well done by Christmas by the Lake, and Mr. Flory wants that new car that he drove as the official city car from here on out.
I don't know that the council will approve that.
Well done, thank you. Chad. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and I'll add to the procession. And just really appreciate Councilman Hugie and Callahan, all your efforts over the years and your support of this community. You guys are great community champions, and this is a great team, all of you, and just honored to work with all of you and appreciate what you guys have done for us. So, just a couple of things real quick. I had the opportunity last Friday to go to an event called Power Up Iowa, and this was a recognition event for Senator Chuck Grassley, Debbie Durham, and Governor Reynolds, as they were each presented with Clean Energy Champions Awards. So their support of renewable fuels, the ethanol industry, biodiesel, wind, all of those things, and really a phenomenal event down at the FFA Center in Ankeny. And they had some really great commentary and a lot of folks there to recognize them and that accomplishment. And it was kind of funny. Grassley had everybody rolling. He had a lot of funny stories. But really reiterated kind of a priority for us at the corridor in North Iowa and in the renewable fuel sector. So appreciate all the things that those folks have done. And afterwards, I kind of bring that up because I had the opportunity just to chat with Debbie real quick afterwards, and she reiterated the great meeting she had with you guys and appreciated the updates on the project and just how phenomenal that is. So again, just kudos to this team for representing this community well. That is not unnoticed at the state level, and that makes our job, like Stacy said, makes our job a lot easier as we try to work on economic development, community projects, as you guys well know. But just again, thank you for how well you do that and continuing that, because she brought it up. I didn't have to. So. Just a few things, I mentioned on Friday. I think everyone, kind of the news has been flowing through about the Chick-fil-A thing in Mason City, which is just funny because that's not really what we do at the corridor necessarily, and I'm not taking any credit for it, but it is funny because for 9 years people have said, we got to get a Chick-fil-A. Why aren't you getting Chick-fil-A? And they're coming to town, so it's pretty exciting to have them in North Iowa. I know that the way that our community, what Clear Lake did, the way that they went to that food truck when they were here for the various events in the community, same thing when they've been in Mason City, they've just been blown away by the number of people using it.
I was just going to add that Councilman Smith has advised me that he's changing his route to Nyack based on the future location of the Chick-fil-A. He intends on stopping on the way over and way back.
Yes, I may buy an apartment over there near the location.
Yeah, the traffic patterns, I have a feeling, will be impacted over in that part of town. But it is funny how dedicated folks are to that restaurant. But again, those kind of things are a great indicator for us as a community, because Chick-fil-A, again, that's not a business that we can tell anything. They know where they want to be. They know the communities of opportunity, and that they saw that in North Iowa is a good indicator for our economic success as a region and our viability. You know, the Alta Beauty that's going in where Best Buy used to be, the Ross, and all those kind of things. You know, that being a core kind of hub for national brand name companies is a big deal. You know, they look at those things and they look at where they can have success and make revenue. So again, and that builds on our you know, economic and retail hub for North Iowa. So it's a very cool thing to be able to host those things here locally. A couple other things on the housing front. You know, I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing on that. You know, I was trying to put some numbers together, but just with those two projects, you guys know we've got, you know, what, 160 units or more that have started over the last year and will be complete over the coming year, in all those projects. And depending on what happens in the Lakeside Acres, you know, that's could be several hundred more or 100 more. So just a lot of progress on that front in both Mason City and Clear Lake, and that, again, incredibly important for our future and growth in North Iowa. On the corridor side of things, we've got a couple of positions. Casey Royster, who's been a teammate of ours for the last year or so in the joint position with NIAC and workforce efforts. She is leaving us this week. This will be her last week, so we're going to be working on recruiting that position again. Got a meeting with NIAC to talk through that and our next steps with that one. We've also been working on our marketing position. I can't remember, I've been away for a little while, so I can't remember if I had mentioned to you guys, but we've been talking with the chamber about sharing the responsibilities for that a little bit as they lost Rachel in their part-time position. So I actually have an interview set up on Friday where the candidate will meet with the Clear Lake Chamber team as well as ours and kind of talk through that and see how things go. But a local Clear Laker, graduated from high school here and currently lives in Mason City, has a great education and experience that we're really looking forward to talking more with her and seeing if we can get a good fit there. So looking forward to doing that. The comprehensive planning effort, we look to have the draft of that. We've been reviewing that with the team. Should be able to put that out publicly for preview. We're hoping this week, so it's City, Clear Lake, and the county has been really helpful. The work they're obviously doing at the SURF and beyond in both communities has been very helpful in that process. So looking forward to sharing that with everybody. Kind of the tentative timeline is to get that to the P&Zs, I think, here in the early part of February, and hopefully ahead of the councils by March. So continue to move that process forward. And finally, I believe that we are planning the State of North Iowa event January 18th at 8 o'clock over at NIAC. Got Monty Shaw, who's the president of the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association, will be the keynote speaker for that, and of course do a lot of the regular updates for the communities. So should be getting more about that out. I hadn't heard a little bit. Hadn't heard much about that in a little while, but hopefully we'll get more detail on that shortly. So I think that's all I've got, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Under Mayor's report, on the 14th of December, a group of us directly related to progress of the SURF district project went to Des Moines, to the Iowa Economic Development Authority and their building. At their building, the folks that were there, representatives from the city, representatives from RDG, you know, designers, planners, architects for that SURF district project, Atura for the MEC Center, and Dean Snyder folks from the state were there. It was, I felt, an excellent meeting. Most importantly, who was there was Director Debbie Durham, and we had to plan, what was it, Scott, 2 months, I think, before even to get that particular date. But Scott took some notes down there, and on the way home in the car, we had quite a discussion on this, positive. And here are some remarks that I read at the chamber annual or quarterly meeting the other morning. And I'm briefly going to go through these now. These were all recorded by Scott as we came home. being there, and these are some of the most positive remarks that I think I've ever heard from Debbie Durham or anyone else really from that State Department. And this is in regard to her feelings, her department's feelings on this particular project. As Scott has alluded to, there's only 50 Debbie Durhams in the United States, one for each state. She has been up here many times, and I do believe we've developed a relationship, and that's not the reason that these remarks are coming on so positive. This is what she believes with regard to this project. And here are some of the excerpts from her mouth. I absolutely love this project. This project exceeds all my expectations, and I loved it from the beginning. Now, there's a part to that beginning, I won't go into that, how she got here, which is very unique as well. The placemaking fund is enormously complex. The governor said, this is Debbie talking, the governor said, are smaller communities ever going to be able to do this? The federal funding, in us being a smaller community at 7,600 people, the federal funding makes these projects really difficult, but you, Clear Lake, seem to be getting along well. Only Davenport, Marshalltown, and Clear Lake are in this category, and you are way ahead, and yours is the most impressive project we have seen of any Destination Iowa project, period. Period. Now, I don't think you can get any more positive words for a project in this state and coming from Debbie Durham as what she said about our project. And look at all the local people we have involved with that project. You know, and, you know, the guy that goes out to our office every morning bright and early and is there on Saturday and Sunday, I don't know when his wife ever sees him, but Scott Flory has put all of this together in this amount of time. Yes, with the help of all those people that were down there, but somebody has to be here to sit at the helm, and that's Scott. And you know, I can think of no better positive way of putting things at the last meeting of this year than that being a part of it. So, you know, thanks for all of us who have, and you guys and others, and Scott for working upon this project. I think it's going to be fabulous when it gets together. All that money has to be obligated by 2024 and expended by 2026. I think I'm right in those dates. So ways to go, but you know, those words are very, very impressive for us, the community of Clear Lake.
Yeah, I just build on that, Mayor, thanks. You know, it was a really impressive day for us down there, and as you indicated, our schedule does stretch out quite some time, so you know, we wanted to give kind of an update of where we're at on the project, things we've been working on since the grant was awarded. So in the scope of like about a 15-month time frame here, we've come a really long way. Now, you know, we haven't broken any dirt, but there's just a ton of things that go into this. And, you know, from the minute we put the presentation on, we had the kind of let off with the Gateway Arch feature. And Nelson did mention she immediately at that point was stopped, just wow. this is awesome, I think were her precise words. And so definitely really excited about it. I mentioned here several times, I did not know, I knew Davenport was a community that had received funding. I did not know Marshalltown had also received funding, but she had commented, I was pleased to hear that because I've shared that here several times, that the placemaking component, there was all these different buckets for the Destination Iowa program, and we were in the placemaking bucket, and that was, I've told you before, that was not, I don't get any pleasure in being that one. This one's not fun, not easy, and the other ones are not, I'm sure, fun, but they are not even close to the challenges of the placemaking component of it. And so I was pleased to hear her reference what she said, Governor Reynolds had said about this program, saying this is really, with all these federal rules that come along, really a daunting thing for a smaller community to have to take on. And I think I've said before, Davenport's probably got 100 people they can throw at these things. We don't. And so I recognized that a long time ago. It was great to hear her mention that, but I was just really happy with the group we had there and the positive comments that they gave us back. And I was talking to Ron here before the meeting. Definitely have some opportunities, I think, for some additional I'll say openings for other things to put in down there. So I think, they were really impressed with what we've got and definitely encouraged us to look at some other opportunities to help with the project and some other funding ways. So definitely good meeting. So
Thanks. Gary Hugie, Michael Callahan. We will miss you both. And some of you are saying, yeah, crap, you're just saying that to make them feel good. But that is true. That's a part of it. We will miss you. A little first on Gary Hugie. 8 years on the City of Clear Lake City Council, 2 years on planning and zoning. You talk about civil service, giving to your community, giving to your society. Both of these gentlemen have done that. That's an important part, I feel, of life, civil service. Gary, expertise in knowledge of construction, be it quality of that construction, or he definitely would tell us if there is a lack of quality in that construction, because that was his business prior to his serving here. General knowledge from our community is transferred to us almost on a daily basis. When the office was out here, I used to hear the gentleman walking through, and prior to that, I would hear one of our folks out in front, Brittany or Hope, holler, especially in the summer, red pony, he drives a red Mustang. And the alert comes through the office. Always there, always willing to talk, either pro or con. That's what a civil servant usually does, one way or the other. Always willing to come into City Hall to discuss possibilities in moving the entire community forward, then not necessarily backward. Definitely an active City of Clear Lake councilman. You can count on seeing him practically every day of the week, if he's well. And if not, he will contact us in addition to that. Definitely be missed by members of P&Z, Board of Adjustment, who would contact him frequently, or he would contact them frequently. And the guys out on the Veterans Memorial Golf Course probably will get to see him more often, which is good. So on behalf of myself and the City Council, Gary will be missed. Michael Callahan, Councilman at Large. 16 years as a councilman. This gentleman comes from a family who has been in this community a long time. Callanan can be seen in any type of historical article you might see all the way back to the beginning of this community in 1871. Retired social studies instructor, athletic coach, lifetime Clear Lake resident, which means that geographically and economically, he knew what was from the past, what was in between, and what is now and going forward. Very good handle, very helpful with regard to that. One of the things I always remember Mike coming up with was whenever we bought a vehicle, he would say, "Now, Scott, we've put money back for that, haven't we?" Time after time, be it the ladder truck or be it a pumper or a police car. Now, Scott, we've put some money back for this, haven't we? Good economics, good economics. Here's what may sound, you know, a little funny, but in a way, he knew this community because, in my words, he was the city and area bicyclist. You could see Mike going up and down the streets, maybe the alleys too, and would let us know the next meeting what the good, the bad, and the indifferent was during that time. Some whole council experiences. I remember this one of the first. Scott had gotten up here. What was that? Scott, 3.2 million?
Project. On what? Oh, the
Very
Holy Cow?
first, the Holy
yeah,
Cow
yeah.
project, yes. And Mike would let us know about that. And it was a great one for a long time. Always thinking with regard to sidewalk improvement or installation. You know, that seemed to be, in my mind anyway, a top point for Mike with regard to improving in the city. Of course, we know his historical knowledge of the city is superb. You know, we've heard about it, we know about it, and, you know, it added a lot to the community, to our council meetings, sometimes a contrasting view of what other people might have then and now. And he always thought of, with regard to our public safety folks, that being number one. So I thank both of you, as the mayor, as perhaps representative of the city council. And now if we could have both of you gentlemen down front and the rest of our city councilmen, we have a token of appreciation for you. And we'd like a quick picture down there, if you would. So we'll just go around in front of the dais. Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. Michael, congratulations. Great to have you. Gary?
Michael?
Yep, get in
I have one intact.
there. Hang in there, Gary.
Uh-oh.
Well done, thank you. Mr. Flory?
Thank you. Just real quick here, run through, just need kind of a approval on this. What I'd like to do is issue this request for proposal. Just run through this real quick. This is on the sculpture for the Surf District process. So I've provided in your packet a copy of the RFP. You've seen this from some of the previous Surf District presentations. So this is something that we would propose sending out. We did tour one particular foundry, but working with RDG, we looked at about 8 or 9 different foundries that we would like to send this RFP to, but we're mostly focused on about 5 that are located here within the Midwest. So just the proposal itself, we have brief introduction, talking a little bit about the project, the conditions of the contract, basically that the contract be with the city, but the consultant on the project is RDG, so they'll be reviewing all of the plans on this. The timeline for it, we'd like to issue the RFP before the end of the year. Then rolling over into 2024, January 8th, we have established as a deadline for questions from the foundries to be submitted back to us. Responses submitted to all qualifiers on their questions. The deadline for the proposals to be back to us for consideration and review is January 19th, and then we would like to interview who we see as the top 2 or 3 companies that we would entertain for this work, and we'd hope to have that done by January, and then considering a contract in February. So in terms of the selection process and criteria, that's going to outlined here in the next pages of the proposal. Details about the company, their approach to the project, a portfolio of previously completed projects that are comparable to this one, of course references, and then a schedule. Obviously that'd be very important for us. Then we'll evaluate those proposals based on the scoring matrix that's included on this next sheet. So kind of have the breakdown of that, and you kind of see company details, 5 points, design, fabrication, install 30, materials, warranty 10, portfolio 15, references 10, schedule 15, and fee 15. So we've identified the location, of course. You've seen this in the previous slides. They're at the intersection of North Shore Drive and 7th Avenue North, so it'd be out in front of the proposed future music enrichment and immersive center. Then just the next sheet is just a conceptual layout of what the sculpture would look like. Again, bronze sculpture on a bronze platform, each of the artists' names engraved below where they would be positioned there. The pedestal itself be about 18-inch high, PCC, and I believe that be in the shape of a guitar pick. So then just in terms of the sculpture, the character and position of each of the performers, we've just identified for Buddy Holly kind of some of the key characteristics that we'd like to see for the sculpture itself, and the same for Richie Valens and, of course, the Big Bopper. So if everyone's good with that, we'll go ahead and proceed with the RFP.
Head nod. Sue?
Scott, this is weird, but I'm just thinking out loud. I'm thinking of that concrete pedestal, 18 inches high.
Yep.
Is there an expectation that people will jump up here to take pictures?
So there's a number of things that we gave some careful consideration to whether or not we wanted to have it on the ground, on a pedestal. So it's possible that there could be some, but the sculpture is built to withstand anyone that would climb on it or anything like that. I think that's going to be inevitable. Anything you do. I was mentioned before, I was in Austin, and they won a Willie Nelson. He's actually kind of sitting down playing the guitar, but people get on it, and so there is going to be like a selfie station that would be incorporated in this for people to take pictures with the sculpture. So we did want to be pretty interactive. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. If you had it too high, then it would limit the interaction that the public could have with it. So.
Yeah, well, it's really exciting, though, because I think it creates an iconic
It will,
feature
yeah.
in the Surf
Very
District that will be very memorable, and so I appreciate all the work you've put into that, Scott, because, again, it's going to be quite the feature for that Surf District project, so.
Yep. Do you have anything else, Jay?
I'm just thinking I'm gonna have to make sure my 82-year-old mother's careful getting down from there after she gets her picture.
Well,
No
we don't
jumping.
encourage the climbing on it, but,
Yeah.
yeah. So if everybody's good with that, I was just also build on some of the mayor's comments earlier for Mike and Gary. I just want to express my sincere appreciation to both of you gentlemen and say thank you for everything you've done here for the city. Just a few things have just really always been clear to me about you two. There's these three things. Clearly, the first one is I think you love the city. That's come through over and over to me over all these years, so I'm pass that on. You've taken your role as an elected official very seriously, so congratulations on that. And you've really acted how you thought would be best for the community, so admire you for that. And so any given agenda, of course, over all these years, you've seen your profound impact that you can have on generations of Clear Lakers for, again, a long, long time, future generations. So we have topics ranging from, multi-million-dollar budgets, projects, infrastructure, things like wellness centers. Again, all these things take a lot of time, require attendance at not only just council meetings, but other meetings, gatherings where we have consultants involved and meeting with me individually off and on over the years. Economic development projects, of course, are pivotal to all these things as well. So all the time that you've put into attending all these meetings and events and everything, in addition to the fun of reading the council packet that I know you'll miss, and you probably read online in the future for time to come. Some of those can be pretty intense and a lot of information, and it takes a lot of time to kind of go through all of that. So again, the investment of time has always impressed me, and both of you have been willing to make that because obviously we know it sure isn't about the money, because there's little to none associated with the job. So I miss you both for all these reasons, and of course many more. And I would just close with the two words I opened with and say thank you again.
Nice.
I can honestly say we're not going to miss coming here at 6 o'clock when it's 20 degrees out.
Well, if that unfinished business thing hadn't gone forever, we'd been out of here by now.
Go ahead.
I have a few things to say. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, and I didn't bring my cheaters with me. So, a few weeks ago, I was watching my beloved Packers lose another game. When the announcers got my attention with the fact that on February 2024 will be the 58th Super Bowl. 58 years of Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl was played in 1967. I was a freshman at Westmark College in Lamars, Iowa. Now, at this time, I can only think of 3 other persons sitting at this table tonight that have and will watch their 58th Super Bowl. In 58 years of Super Bowls, did any of those 3 people get smarter? Probably not. Hopefully, they did get wiser. I'd like to pass on to the incoming council and the future councils a couple of thoughts to be successful at this position. The best example I can use would be when McKesson chose Clear Lake as their new location for the distribution center. As Mr. Flory pointed out a few meetings ago, McKesson had Clear Lake on their radar for 3 years prior to their announcement. What drew them here and why? That's very simple. Simple answers. Our largest resource that we call the lake. How the city and surrounding areas continually, and organizations continually update the environmental concerns for the quality of the lake. This indicates to others our thoughtfulness and pride for this fantastic resource. Secondly, the people. The pride our residents take in saying, I am from Clear Lake, Iowa. Friendliness offered by our people to ourselves, but also to the people visiting our community. We can easily see this fact when events that draw people from all over are watching our local volunteers in action for success. Quality of life. We as residents enjoy a quality of life that only a community of our size has to offer. I am sure a prospect such as McKesson ask themselves, is this the community we are going to transfer our employees to live here? Is this a community we want our employees to raise a family in? Is this school system on a stable course? Does local government conduct themselves in a professional manner? Do we as a business want to be involved in the community? The obvious answer to all I've pointed out is a yes. I was personally chatting with a visitor the first time I was elected on the council 8 to 10 years ago, who said it best. He stated, I really like this town. It's a kind of like Mayberry, but with a smidgen of flair. Finally, remember, you as council persons are representatives and stewards financially for the taxpayers of this city. Has anyone guessed who the three persons I was talking about earlier, who they are? I bet you didn't, so I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you their initials and you can take it from there. The youngest of the old coots, I'm going to call it, is Mike Callahan. The middle old coot would be myself. And the oldest old coot would be our esteemed mayor, Mr. Nelson Crabb. Now that wasn't too bad, was it? I would like to say that there's a lot of smarts in these three, but I feel it is more to the side of wisdom of 40 years plus doing community service. It has been an honor and a privilege to represent the constituents of our wonderful community. At this time, I'd like to wish all of our public employees, the police department, fire department.
Michael.
Very seldom do I get a chance to get the last word, and I probably won't because Scott will have to say something. I have to give a little history first, but this is a personal history. I'm probably sitting here because of three Clear Lake residents that had an influence on me as a youngster. One of them lived right next door to my grandmother, up on the corner where Matt Berry lives, if you know that, North 10th and 2nd Avenue North. His name was Arlie Eddy. If you look out here on the City Hall, his name's on the plaque. He was a councilman. And I was a young kid mowing my grandma's lawn, and he was an old guy, and he didn't even have any children of his own. But he'd wander over after I got done mowing, and he took some time and he talked to me. And I was pretty impressed that somebody as important as a councilman would spend some time with a dumb little kid. I remembered that. Right across the street, my best friend's dad, Warren Jacobson, Jacobson Electric. He was a councilman, and I had a lot of respect for Warren Jacobson. And a longtime family friend, a guy named Jim Ransom. Some of you might have had the pleasure to know him. Jim was the most service-oriented individual I ever knew. He went to country school with my mother south of town back in the 1920s, and he was a longtime family friend. And he gave me some work when I didn't have a job one summer. He was a painter in his part-time. And he was the most honest, hardworking, and upfront guy I ever knew. He was a councilman. And I thought, when I grow up, maybe that's something I can be. And lo and behold, here I sit. It's been a few notes here. Last 16 years, I've been fortunate to observe city government and administration as an insider. Many people bring a plethora of talents and skills to both aspects. I have had the pleasure to serve with 11 different councilmen, 6 of whom were former students. Each brought some valuable insights to the council. Although we didn't always agree on everything, meetings and discussions were conducted with decorum and respect. The net result has been to help deliver tremendous progress on many fronts to the citizens of Clear Lake. And I won't bore you with a list, but there's a bunch. I mean, the thing I'm personally the most proud of is the tremendous upgrade with infrastructure we've made all over the community, because this is going to last the citizens of Clear Lake for decades. We got a beautiful new fire station out there. I'd be surprised at that if that thing isn't around for another 90 years. We did it right. We've got a lot of new streets. We got a couple of new water towers. We've got a new upgrade on the water treatment plant. We've got miles of sewers and miles of sidewalks. Really proud of all of these things. Mayor Crabb provided steady leadership and is always a relentless ambassador for the greatest small town in Iowa. From a staff standpoint, I can't ignore Jennifer. Jennifer has always been there to help the council and Scott and the mayor get things right. You know, there's always people behind the scene that do a lot more than you ever realize, and I know Jennifer is one of those people. From a staff standpoint, City Administrator Scott Flory has tackled projects large and small with an unmatched tenacity. I mean, think about it. He has championed decades of forward expansion in our city. I have watched several long-term and I mean, I could go on about Scott, but you've heard it all before, so we'll leave it at that. But tremendous amount of accomplishments in his tenure here. I've watched several long-term department heads, as well as some with more turnover. We've had 1 fire chief, 2 directors of maintenance, 2 building inspectors, 4 librarians, 4 park department heads, and 5 men serving as chief police during my tenure. Kind of interesting. All of these people have helped their departments serve the local citizens of Clear Lake. My challenge for the future council would be to continue to promote growth and renewal of our fair city while paying close attention to fiscal responsibility. Many of those projects I mentioned were actually completed without going into debt, and I love that concept. I grew up with Depression-era parents, and the idea was you went without unless it was something you had to have until you knew where the money was coming from. And this has served our city well. You know, for many, many years, we operated in that gigantic debt ceiling of maybe 2 to 3%. I know that's going to change a little here for good reason, I guess. But anyway, keep that in mind. Clear Lake citizens pay a premium to live here and deserve careful consideration on how their taxes are spent. It's you know, it's getting to be a very interesting community to live in because so many people want to live here that the property values and assessed values are going up, and we have to be mindful of that when we're spending the taxpayers' money. As I sign off, I feel I'm leaving the city government in good hands and in a better place than when I was first elected. Thanks to all those who supported me and made this a very enjoyable experience in my life. And as Gary said, maybe a little advice to future councilmen. Come prepared to meetings. Be accountable and available to constituents. Represent and serve Clear Lake residents first. I think you got to keep that one in mind. I wore this shirt tonight because whenever there's a big decision to be made, I tried to wear this shirt to remind myself of who I was representing first as a Clear Lake City Councilman. And this was some great advice I got from someone that had served on a board many years ago. Remember that you are elected to govern and not administer. We hire good people to do the administration and let them do their jobs and just try to do your share with the governing. I feel that the future council's in very good hands. I've got a former colleague out there. We taught right across the hall from one another for decades. And I know she'll be the detail-oriented person. She'll be all over everything in the packet, and she'll do her research and she'll follow up. And more importantly, she'll continue on with the important history at the meetings. So I'm kind of happy with that. And there's another little angle to your other newly elected councilman, Creighton Schmidt. Creighton happens to live 2 houses from the house I grew up in on First Avenue North. There's 2 red brick houses on First Avenue North. The one farther east is the one I grew up in. Mark Borgman, another former student, lives there now. And Jim Finstead, one of our fire officers, lives in between, and then Creighton lives on the one to the west. Anyway, when I first talked to Creighton about the concept of possibly running for council, I kind of threw it out there that he almost had to do this at some point in his life because there was a neighborhood tradition. I said, right out your back door was Arlie Eddy. Right across the street was Warren Jacobson. 2 houses down, me. Anyway, so that was kind of a fun one. And then lo and behold, he got elected. So last but not least, I want to give a head nod to Gary. Gary has done a wonderful job. He and I have had many, many conversations. We haven't always been on the same side of every issue, but we had wonderful discussions and we respected one another, and we ultimately arrived at every decision with a lot of respect, and I will continue to hold Gary as a friend. Anyway, thank you, and I will definitely miss this.
Wait, give it up for these 2 guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for being here.